up to credit 6. The graph for the females is higher than that of the males. So this figure is indicating that the girls perform better in English, and Mama, this appears to be the natural trend, that in every examination that we have reported on, even at other levels, the performance of females in English has been better. Perhaps somebody needs to do a PhD to find out why this trend is obtaining, not only in this country, but Mama, we have seen it elsewhere. Then in integrated science, this is where the males wake up from their sleep in English. Then they try to show the better performance. You can see at the different, the columns, the males are D1, they are now 1.22 compared to 0.96 for the females. And this goes on. But unfortunately, as you go lower, then the reverse begins to happen, meaning that more of the females are scoring the lower grades. This is also shown very clearly in the graph, where the graph for the males is higher up to about credit 6 level. Then they tie up towards credit 6, and now the graph for the females gets higher, meaning that the boys have performed better. We are saying slightly better. We are told by the statistician that sometimes the differences are not statistically significant, but they are there. Then with the social studies and religious education, again, the males have performed slightly better until credit 6, where they tie up, and then the female curve tends to be a bit higher, showing more of the girls getting the lower grades. Mathematics is perhaps where the difference in performance is quite significant. The gaps between the two curves, male and female, are quite visible from distinction 1 up to distinction, rather credit 5. Again, the two candidates' genders tie up around credit 6, and then they come down. Rather, the females go up, meaning that more of them are in the lower grades. So here, performance of the girls up to credit the boys, frequency distribution for PLE 2025 total aggregates. These curves are now showing the percentages of candidates that are with the aggregate 4 that the chair talked about, 5 up to 36, which is the lowest, that is a fail. You'll see that the males and females, the males are a little better up to some level, and then we can see now the males, their curves come down, meaning more of them are in the upper distinctions. This curve is indicating that most of our candidates are passing between aggregate. The pass levels with the mode, most of the candidates, the model, if you plot the mode of that graph, it's at about 22. That is where you have the highest number of candidates. Aggregate 4 this year is extremely low, occasioned mainly by the performance in social studies. Mama, we have also compared the overall performance by division. In table 5, shows that the overall performance of candidates by divisional grades in 2025, and we are comparing with performance in 2024. The first column shows the number of candidates that have passed in Division 1. As the chairperson said, we have more candidates this year passing with first grade That is 91,990 or 11.39%, compared to 84,301 or 10.7%. So we have more of our candidates who have obtained Division 1 or Grade 1. However, if you go down, you find the percentages are a little bit lower, but fairly comparable. What is important, Mama, is that as we've seen in Table 5, more of our candidates have passed in Division 1 in 2025 than 2024. An increase, Mama, this is an increase of 7,689 in terms of numbers. And we also have more overall this was the increase. The first one is the increase in Division 1 passes. But overall, although we are seeing that in terms of percentages, 2024 seems to be better, but what is very important is the real numbers. We have 7,503 who have passed PLE compared to 2024. And we have presented these just for comparison in those bar graphs. Then 4.6, we have also shown the overall performance by gender. In Table 6, we are showing that at Division 1, 12.54% are males, while 10.35% are females. Similarly, at Division 2, 48.54% are males and 47.69% are females. Then at the Division 3 and Division 4, the percentages of the females tend to be a little higher, although fairly comparable, Mama. So it's just showing that the males have performed slightly better, and they also have slightly lower failure rate. And in that, we have also shown the bar graphs. If you see the bar graphs, the heights of these graphs are very close, except for Division 1. That means at Division 2, 3, 4, the performance is quite comparable. Ma'am, allow me also to report performance of special candidate groups. I start with the prison's inmates. At the Uganda Upper Prison School in Luzira, as I reported, 61 candidates were registered compared to 71 in the previous year. And of those 61 candidates who registered, 58 candidates sat. 4 of them obtained Division 1, 27 obtained Division 2, and 13 obtained Division 3, and 5 obtained Division 4, and only 9 were ungraded. Mama, in the past we used to clap for this special group because they study under abnormal conditions, but they are still doing extremely well, as you can see. 3 did not sit the examination. We assume that they were released from prison before the examination time. At Mbarara Main Prison Inmates Primary School, Mama, we had 40 candidates who registered. 39 of them sat, while 1 could have been released before, was absent. Of those, 7 obtained Division 1, 15 are in Division 2, 10 are in Division 3, 5 in Division 4, and only 2 were ungraded. Then, Mama, we also have our special needs candidates. The table is a bit crowded. We have disaggregated them by the categories of blind, the low vision, the deaf, the physically handicapped and dyslexics, and then the ones that we have categorized as others. We've also disaggregated by gender, but in all, we note that of the 3,636 candidates who were registered, 194 of them passed in Division 1, 1,761 passed in Division 2, 779 were in Division 3, while 436 were in Division 4, and 431 were ungraded. 35 of these children registered but did not take the examination. Ma'am, allow me to briefly comment on the work of the candidates as seen from the scripts. Examiners and curriculum specialists have appreciated the quality of the papers that were administered by UNEB. The papers have recognized the paradigm shift to competency-based learning, and the questions in these papers reflected this shift. Teachers, especially of social studies and religious education, appear not to be adjusting their teaching methods in this direction. And so we find that candidates had difficulties in answering questions that required them to apply their knowledge in SST, particularly on issues that affect their community and issues that affect their country. The SST emphasizes more where the children live and the issues that affect their country. And we find, unfortunately, this is not coming through in the answers that the children are giving. And this partly explains, I think, the drop in the performance. Examiners have also pointed out the very negative impact of papers developed and circulated to schools by certain so-called examination bureaus just before the examination. These bureaus make their papers to mimic the way UNEB exam papers look like, including the instructions given, the layout of the rubric page, and they sell this to schools, making schools believe that these and others that they sell, from setting papers or setting tests using the knowledge that they have, they now depend mainly on buying these items. Mama, in the tables that we have picked out some areas, learning areas in the different subjects where candidates were showing difficulties. They are shown there in mathematics, in English, in integrated science, and also in social studies with religious education. Mama, on top of these, there are other issues where the board will produce detailed reports, and these will be shared to schools with advice to teachers how they can handle some of these concepts which children are showing difficulties in. We only hope that when we share these documents, they will be used. Mama, allow me to say something brief on examination malpractice, just on top of what the chairperson has already said, that the board has succeeded in delivering question papers safely to all examination sitting centers, thanks to the collaborative efforts and support of the district, the chief administrative officers, and the district officials, that is the district inspectors of schools and the district education officers. Chair, in appreciation of this particular release, That's the reason why we have two representatives of the district inspectors of schools, the chairperson of the forum, who is the district inspector of schools, Mbarara, and their general secretary, who is the district inspector of schools for Lira. Mama, if you recall the video clip I showed while we were briefing you, the man who was speaking in that video is this gentleman, the district inspector of schools of Lira, whom you saw literally sailing his car across a flooded section of road. He wasn't driving anymore, he was just sailing the car because I thought it was going to sink. Apart from this, we also have the other local governments and the police. Examination malpractice, Mama, has now taken a brazen form where scouts and invigilators are bribed or threatened with physical harm if they do not cooperate by the school directors and head teachers to allow teachers to assist candidates directly in the examination room. Mama, you will also recall a picture we showed when we were briefing you of one teacher who was caught in the act of conducting a lesson during the examination. Honorable Ministers, you've heard from the chair, this is sad, particularly as that some of our would-be partners in the district education offices are becoming complicit in this and other professional acts. We shall have very detailed discussions with these partners of ours to see how sanity can be restored and we go back to conducting examinations as we have known them to happen. I'm grateful, Mama, to our dedicated security team that has worked so hard on these cases of examination malpractice. As the chair reported, a number of arrests have been made, and we are glad that as I speak now, some of them are already serving jail because they have been convicted and sentenced. Others are on remand waiting for appearance in court in various parts of this country. In accordance with section, as we analyzed the cases, the districts where these cases are coming from, we have noticed that the districts of Kisoro, I'm very surprised because Kisoro has been a very safe district in terms of exam malpractice. We don't know what happened, but a number of many cases have come from there. Kampala, Mukono, Namutumba, Kasanda, where the district inspector of schools himself was arrested, Buyende, and Kaliro, among others, have contributed to the biggest number of candidates whose results will be withheld. Ma'am, I want to salute the leadership of Chenjojo, Kabarole, and Bundibujo districts, from where most of the cases were emanating. Mama, you remember previously, about 3 years ago and back, each time we were here, you'd know that the majority of cases were from Kabarole, Chenjojo, Bundibujo, and sometimes Kasese and Chegegwa, the Rwenzori region. I think that a great change of heart appears to have taken place. And also, particularly in the case of Chenjojo, Mama, I want to report that when the results of the 2024 primary leaving exams were released, the Chief Administrative Officer of this district took very, very stern measures on the head teachers of schools that perpetuated this vice. Although they went to court and threatened him, he stood firm with his local council 5 chair whom they also threatened not to vote because of that. But that was one of the results I was very, very keenly watching out for, and I was glad to know that the chair was re-elected. A group of teachers thinking that they would influence the election. So these two persons, leaders, took very stern action, and this year we don't have a single case that has been reported from the past, very, very quickly. Mama, allow me to express our gratitude. First of all, I must give thanks and praise to the Almighty God for His blessings upon us. Mama, we dedicated each stage of the examinations process to God Himself in prayer, and I believe that He answered us each time. And I think, Mama, that is why we are here today, because of His blessings. To Him be the glory, I pray. Mama, the examination period found you already very busy supporting His Excellency the President as he traversed the country, delivering messages of hope and prosperity to our people during the presidential election campaigns, as my chair has already said. But we knew that wherever you are, that despite your very hectic schedules, you found time to pray for the successful conclusion of the examination process. That, Mama, has come to pass. The exercise was successful, and we are here to give you the proceeds of that success. And I join my chairperson in expressing our profound gratitude to you, Mama. I'm grateful to the board under the very stable, rather to the very able leadership or stewardship of the chairperson, Professor Celestino Obua, and his board for providing good governance and creating the environment that allowed management to perform its role efficiently and effectively. I want to thank the Chief of Defense Forces, the Inspector General of Police, and heads of other security agencies that gave us the security, the cover that we needed for a smooth conduct of the examination. Chair, we have invited two officers from the Army and the police. They have been introduced to you, but in my own way, also I like them to step forward again in the open and greet you with the kind of salute that they only know. Their names were read. Brigadier General Christopher Columbus. He's not the one who discovered America. It was somebody else. I am grateful, Mama, to the Chief Administrative Officers, district and urban education officials who worked very closely with us to ensure that counterpart funding, logistics, and personnel were mobilized for the examination process. Mama, I want to report that there are still some local governments that do not budget for the conduct of the PLE administration and depend solely on the contribution from UNEB. Mama, in such districts, the shortage of funds severely constrains the proper conduct of the examination. And I pray that at this time, when the budgeting process is ongoing, they remember to allocate some resources for this cause. I salute the media for the close that we have enjoyed. The media houses have ensured that our programs were publicized widely. Mama, these are not the ones who reported last week that UNEB servers had crashed and therefore there would be no PLE. These are not the ones. Neither are the ones who reported 2 weeks ago that the UNEP building that you commissioned in 2023 had been set on fire by unknown persons. These are not the ones. But if some of them are here, we expect responsible use of social media, not to disinform the public. Mama, in a very special way, I pay tribute to the staff of UNEP, those invisible unsung heroes Sorry, I was interrupted by a piece of paper here. Those unsung heroes, Mama, who do everything tirelessly to ensure that the board's mandate is fulfilled. Mama, they spare no efforts in the service of their country. They were introduced, but I want them to stand again and wave to you. The invitation to stand was not done by me. This time I'm doing it myself. Thank you very much, my dear colleagues. I thank the examiners who worked so hard to complete the marking in good time, despite the very busy campaigns that were going on at the time. We had time to concentrate and mark. And then I also thank the institutions that offered their premises for us to mark from. I wish to appreciate the efforts of the parents and guardians in supporting their children through the cycle of primary, culminating in the sitting for this examination. I also congratulate the candidates who have passed the examination and comfort those who have not passed and those who have not obtained the pass level that they expect. Mama, when eventually you declare the results released, we are going to have a number of parents coming over and telling us, my daughter, my son was an aggregate